Have you ever wondered what it would be like to live among the stars? On May 14, 1973, America took a giant leap toward answering that question. Stay with me to discover how a repurposed rocket became America's first home in space, and what this historic mission can teach us about overcoming seemingly impossible challenges through human ingenuity and perseverance. The story I'm about to share marked a pivotal moment in human spaceflight, one that would test the limits of our problem-solving abilities and open the door to long-duration space missions. By the end of this video, you'll understand not just what happened on that spring day in 1973, but why it forever changed our approach to living and working in space. By 1973, America had already achieved the seemingly impossible by landing humans on the moon. The Apollo program had captured the world's imagination, but as the final moon missions concluded, NASA faced a pressing question: what's next? The answer was to create a permanent presence in Earth orbit, a place where astronauts could live for weeks or months, not just days. Enter Skylab, America's ambitious first space station. Unlike modern space stations built from multiple launches, Skylab would be launched in a single mission, using the last of the mighty Saturn V rockets, the same type that sent astronauts to the moon. At 118 feet tall and weighing 77 tons, Skylab was essentially a repurposed Saturn rocket third stage, converted into a spacious orbital workshop. The ingenuity behind Skylab was remarkable. Engineers converted what would have been the rocket's liquid hydrogen tank into living quarters and lab space, while the smaller liquid oxygen tank became waste storage. The station featured America's first space shower, a wardroom for dining, private sleeping quarters, and scientific equipment for hundreds of planned experiments. On the morning of May 14, 1973, at Kennedy Space Center, the final Saturn V rocket stood ready for launch. The massive vehicle contained no crew. Skylab would be launched unoccupied, with the first astronauts following in a separate launch the next day. As the countdown reached zero, the 5 F-1 engines roared to life with their characteristic orange flame, lifting the 363-foot rocket off Pad 39A. At first, the launch appeared perfect. The Saturn V performed flawlessly as it pushed through the sound barrier just over a minute into flight. But at Mission Control in Houston, the first signs of trouble appeared. 63 seconds into the flight, as the rocket passed through maximum dynamic pressure, telemetry indicated something had gone terribly wrong. The station's micrometeoroid shield, designed to protect Skylab from space debris and serve as a thermal blanket, had accidentally deployed early and was torn away by the rushing air. The shield's debris damaged one of the station's crucial solar arrays and jammed the other. This was catastrophic. Without its thermal protection, Skylab would overheat in the sun's rays, and with limited power from the damaged solar arrays, the entire mission was in jeopardy. Despite these serious issues, Skylab made it to orbit. But the station was quickly heating up to dangerous levels that could spoil food, release toxic gases from melting materials, and render the entire structure uninhabitable. With temperatures reaching 126 degrees Fahrenheit, 52 degrees Celsius, inside, NASA made the difficult decision to delay the first crew's launch, originally scheduled for the very next day. What followed was one of the most remarkable examples of crisis problem-solving in spaceflight history. Engineers, managers, and astronauts at NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center and Johnson Space Center worked around the clock to devise solutions. The first crew, Commander Charles Pete Conrad, pilot Paul J. Weitz, and science pilot Joseph P. Kerwin, flew back to Houston to train for a rescue mission nobody had ever contemplated. Within days, teams had designed several possible sunshades that could be deployed by the astronauts. They created a collapsible parasol that could be pushed through a small scientific airlock from inside the station. Meanwhile, another team worked on tools the astronauts could use during spacewalks to try freeing the jammed solar array. Despite having only days to prepare, the crew trained intensively for their unprecedented rescue mission. On May 25th, 11 days after Skylab reached orbit, the crew finally launched aboard an Apollo command module atop a Saturn V rocket. Upon reaching Skylab, the astronauts found temperatures inside had soared to intolerable levels. Their first priority was to deploy the makeshift sunshade. Working methodically, they successfully extended the parasol through the scientific airlock, immediately beginning to cool the station. The next challenge was to free the jammed solar array. During a daring spacewalk, Conrad and Kerwin struggled with the stubborn array. Using improvised cutting tools, they finally managed to free the debris and deploy the array, bringing critical power back to the station. The rescue was a complete success. Temperatures inside Skylab dropped to comfortable levels, and the freed solar array provided enough power for the mission to continue. What had seemed like certain failure just days earlier had been transformed into triumph through ingenuity, training, and sheer determination. Over the next 9 months, 3 separate 3-person crews would call Skylab home, staying for missions of 28, 59, and 84 days, each setting a new record for human spaceflight duration. The astronauts conducted 270 experiments across various scientific disciplines, from observing the sun to studying the effects of weightlessness on the human body. The medical data collected during Skylab proved crucial for future long-duration spaceflight. For the first time, scientists could observe how the human body adapted to extended periods in zero gravity. Meanwhile, the Earth Resources Experiment package captured unprecedented images of our planet, aiding in geological studies, agricultural planning, and urban development. After the final crew departed in February 1974, Skylab remained in orbit, unoccupied but not forgotten. NASA had hoped to revisit and possibly boost it to a higher orbit using the space shuttle, but delays in the shuttle program meant this never happened. As solar activity increased in the late 1970s, it caused Earth's atmosphere to expand, increasing drag on Skylab. On July 11, 1979, the space station made an uncontrolled re-entry, scattering debris over the Indian Ocean and parts of Western Australia. Fortunately, no one was injured. Though Skylab's physical presence was short-lived, its legacy endures. The lessons learned from its dramatic rescue and the scientific data gathered during its missions directly influenced the design and operations of all space stations that followed, from Mir to the International Space Station. The story of Skylab reminds us that the path to the stars is rarely smooth. It's filled with unexpected challenges that test our resolve and creativity, but it also shows us that with ingenuity, teamwork, and unwavering determination, we can overcome seemingly impossible obstacles. As we look to the future of space exploration, with plans for a return to the Moon and eventual missions to Mars, the lessons of Skylab continue to guide us. Each challenge overcome in space builds our collective knowledge and brings us one step closer to becoming a truly spacefaring civilization. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What aspect of living in space would you find most challenging? Or which experiment from Skylab do you think had the most lasting impact? Don't miss tomorrow's video, where we'll explore another pivotal moment that shaped our understanding of the cosmos and our place within it. History isn't just about the past, it's about how we learn and grow from our experiences. If you've enjoyed this journey back to the early days of America's space station program, hit that like button and subscribe to History Sparks for more illuminating stories from our shared human adventure.